Limelight Automotive, located at 175 Ridge Road. Applicant Stephen Smith is requesting an area variance to allow a 6-foot tall fence on the property line within a district buffer area, which is not permitted, and a 36.6-foot district buffer area where 100 feet is required, associated with the parking lot and fencing modifications to a previously approved site plan for Limelight Automotive, a 2.3-acre parcel having SBL number 080.13-2-3.11, located in an MC medium intensity commercial district under sections 350-18 of the Code of the Town of Webster.
Okay, good evening. Can you state your name and tell us what it is?
That's Stephen. Stephen Smith. I represent Limelight Automotive. I'm the owner here. I guess to fill you in, first and foremost, we had gone through approvals for a lot of these variances, for 5 different variances. Last meeting we had attended and gotten those variances was July of last year. We had since then constructed the building. Everything's gone about as planned. But there's just upon the last meeting, there was a concern. One of the variances had been slightly altered from what we had been asking, which is basically the buffer to the rear in pertaining to the parking lot back there, where the fence would be located, and things like that. I expressed some immediate concern with the engineer. I let Josh know about some of these things. But we were going to kind of feel it out once the building was up. We wanted to see what kind of turning radiuses we were dealing with for vehicles. One of the bay doors around the back of the building is a 14 by 14 door. That was designed specifically to be able to fit some larger vehicles. We do, without name dropping, dump trucks. We do some of the Wilberts vans and stuff like that. We also do boats between tinning and graphics and audio systems. It's really required to be able to fit some of these larger, vehicles and things in there. And the turning radius is proven to not be quite enough with what was granted as a variance in July of last year. So what I'm here to do is just look to get that variance just slightly extended to actually what we're looking to do is just pave the pre-existing parking lot. It's been there since Gary put it up in, I think, '87. And then just move the fence back to the property line. We feel like that's going to make it a lot easier for snow removal and things like that. So it's pretty, I believe it's a fairly simple, request tonight, but love to hear your guys' thoughts. And really my biggest concern is being able to do, the business we had bought the property for and put the structure up for, and not be limited to things like the parking lot like that. And then my biggest concern, obviously, and I think everyone's is to finish the project, get the screening up we had been, proposing, and make this a nice, area between our commercial building and property and the neighbors behind it. So.
Now, I noticed that the parking lot is paved. Now, Josh, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. Is that supposed to be 49 feet from the rear line, or 41 feet? 41 was the proposed fence, I believe. And 49 was the pavement.
I believe that was, yes.
That's the variance that was approved?
That was the variance that was approved. It was not the variance that was asked for. It was the very last thing that was basically given to me at the very last meeting. I thought I came here for, approvals on what we had asked for, and that was a little bit of a blindside to me. I was immediately concerned with that turning radius. But yes, you are correct. We had asked for a 41-foot variance to the parking lot, and then a fence in the buffer zone. And when we had come for that last meeting, it was approved to do the variance of 41 feet to the fence, and then another 8 feet to the parking lot.
For snow storage.
For snow storage, correct. But again, with that losing the 9 or 10 feet there, it's a big enough factor to make it so it's very difficult to turn back there. I had actually invited Josh and Mary to come down, kind of take a look at the project, see what it physically looked like. I brought hard copies of very rough drawings essentially from the engineer, showing some turning radiuses with certain vehicles. Unfortunately, didn't have the option of doing like a truck and a trailer type of thing, but I could submit those to you guys to show some sort of a proof of that. But the day that I had Josh and Mary down, we had parked cars in that fashion, and they had actually physically witnessed a vehicle trying to get around there and having to quite a time trying to do that. Even down to FedEx and UPS drivers that want to deliver packages back there. You pull around back and it's almost impossible to turn around with the limits that were granted for variance last time.
Now, looking at the map, it looks like it's 36.6 feet to the pavement.
That is correct. That was the existing parking lot that had been there for 40 years.
It was supposed to be 49 feet.
Correct. We had not, correct. It was paved. It was not supposed to be paved. I had given them direction of where not to pave. They had seen that there was still stone between Limelight and Jiffy Lube and assumed that that was where they shouldn't have paved the extra 10 feet. And yet, the day it was paved July 5th, closed the shop down, wanted enough time for the parking lot to clear and everything. So we had left. By the time I had checked with them, they had started to pave the very back lot and already had kind of gone past their their limits there. So, I mean, if this does become an issue where we have to set it back, again, my biggest concern is the turning radius and being able to use the building the correct way. I'm not, I apologize that had gone down that way. It was only a week and a half ago that did. Yes, you are absolutely correct. That is what happened. We did not expand the parking lot from its existing, stone limits by any means. But yes, that was paved to its existing limits at the time.
Well, I read all the minutes to the meeting from last April,
Okay.
and there was a lot of discussion about setbacks. You had a lot of concerns, Corinne had a lot of concerns. Obviously, Chris and Mike were here at that meeting, but the buffer is not to protect commercial property.
Oh,
It's to protect the residential property. So we take that really seriously. And we did make some concessions for you to locate your business there. And the neighbors actually made concessions as well because it's nowhere near 100 feet. You couldn't do a 100-foot buffer there.
correct.
It's an existing situation, but we tried to maximize their buffer. And you unilaterally decided to take it away, which isn't fair to the neighbors. So, I'm not comfortable with this at all. I don't know how the rest of you feel.
So I have a question. So 36 feet is to the back of the parking lot. Based on C 1.0, it's indicating parking spots back there. They look like extra deep parking spots. Maybe I'm wrong, but they look like extra deep parking spots. And it's indicating 9 of them. The turning radius, I'm assuming, is inside of those parking spots.
Correct. If cars were all parked there, unless say we had a boat or something that needed to go in there, we'd be moving eight or nine cars just to be able to get a truck backed up to the trailer, let's say, and then do a nice U-turn to get out of there.
My question really goes, if you didn't have those parking spots, you could get the 49 feet, because the parking space is usually about 20 feet, so that would give you up to about 55 feet. Granted, you would lose 9 parking spots, and you'd have to figure out where they would end up parking, et cetera, but, just going back to what you were saying, right, I mean, you're absolutely right, the buffer's there for the residential district. I mean, it's a bummer that the paving contractor paved the area that they were not supposed to pave. That is definitely a bummer. But yeah, I agree. I mean, if I was living back there and
You know,
now 30 feet away,
if if you're off by half a foot or something like that, that could be considered an error,
Right,
but not 8 or 9 or 10 feet.
I agree.
That's, is that dumpster enclosure there now?
Yeah, it wasn't,
That's proposed?
it wasn't in
Dumpster
Sunday.
enclosure?
It wasn't what? I'm sorry?
The dumpster enclosure is a proposed dumpster enclosure?
Yeah, that was the original plans, though. We had already, if we go back to what we had submitted last year, even that dumpster enclosure was there.
Right, but I'm assuming that with the revision of the plans that have the zoning board updates on it, that dumpster enclosure was
It was slightly moved back, I would say, yes. That's
moved
that.
forward.
We received a couple of letters from neighbors. Do you have that handy, Josh?
Yeah. Would you like me to read it?
This one is from Don and Margaret Mooney, the neighbor at 1178 Jackson Heights Drive for the past 35 years. So in 1989, after the construction of our house was complete, built by Gary Lazaro in 1988, we split the cost and effort with Gary to plant all of the trees, bushes, and landscape screening on our northern property line and Gary Lazaro's south property line, formerly Kitchen and Bath Expressions. This screening was put in place because Gary understood that there was a district buffer between his MC zone property and our R3 zone property, which is defined as a district buffer area and by code must be 100 feet. At the April 18, 2022 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, a use variance was approved with the condition that there be no car sales and limit the number of cars to be stored on the south end of the property to 11, which we did not argue with. Also, an area variance with conditions that the buffer area to the south be enhanced, a distance of 49 feet to the pavement and 41 feet to the fence, where 100 feet is required. That is a 59% decrease in required buffer area between districts, which we accepted and did not argue with. Now, it is requesting to change his plans and ask for a 0-foot setback on the fence between our house and a residential neighborhood that we built 35 years ago and his auto business in a medium-intensity commercial district, which is typically not an approved use to begin with. Per town code section 350-79F, in no case shall a fence be located in a buffer area nor in any town easements without prior town board and filing of a license agreement. He isn't just asking to put a fence within the buffer area, he is asking to put a fence on the property line on the opposite side of the buffer area where it would normally be permitted. There is no possible way to put a solid fence on that property line without removing and destroying the existing screening that has been there for the last 34 years. He had previously been granted multiple variances in his favor for this project. He is now asking for more for his benefit, not for the neighboring residential properties. The property in question is also a hub for Penske truck rentals, which is not a permitted use, nor has it been approved. The parking lot modification that is part of his request being presented tonight has already been completed without approval from this board. We are asking that the 0-foot setback for the fence not be granted. The fence to be located to the north of the existing screening in the open area, and the additional approved landscape screening be installed per plan to cut down on the noise from the business and glare from the lights at night. Thank you for your time. And there was a second letter submitted from Gary and Marlene Lazaro at 1177 Ridge Road, members of the Webster Zoning Board of Appeals. We, Gary and Marlene Lazaro, with our residence located at 1177 Ridge Road, share a common lot line with Limelight on our west border, which is Limelight's east border. Regarding our west border line, we would want to be assured that the proposed fence does not encroach onto our property. Our concern also involves the location of the proposed fence between Limelight Automotive's south border and neighbors to the south, Don and Maggie Mooney, residing at 1178 Jackson Heights. The placement of the 6-foot-high white vinyl fence is proposed to be on the lot line, which now has numerous established trees. The proposed fence should be north of Mooney's lot line enough so that it would allow the trees to remain in the Mooney's yard. Sincerely, Gary and Marlene Lazar.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this application? Seeing there isn't, we'll turn it back to the board. I think I've already expressed my feelings. I'd probably like to hear from the other board members.
We discussed this for an hour or more at the meeting originally. We were concerned with the setback, we were concerned with the fence, concerned with the location of the dumpster with respect to the buffer and the fence. I had a dumpster located outside my bedroom window for a couple of years, and it's a miserable experience at 5 a.m. when they empty them, so I'm a little sensitive to that. We also conditioned it there would be no car sales at this location. I guess we weren't specific in no car rentals or any rentals at this location, but I've now seen that you're also a licensed renter for Penske trucks.
And we have been at the old location for 5 years, so I agree with you.
But you're not allowed use, that we've bent the rules or changed the rules for you in order to allow it. And on first pass, I did go and try and find the lot line to see where the fence would be. I did not find any stakes for the lot line, but where it appeared to be the lot line, you have to decimate all of the trees along that back in order to put the fence up, which is going to make the situation worse for the residential neighbors behind you. It looks like it was, maybe it was entirely accidental, but like you just deliberately ignored every restriction, every condition that this board gave you, and did what you asked for anyway, and then, I'm so sorry, but let me do it now. I was, the pavement is at 39 feet or 36 feet, it should be at 49 feet, so you missed it by 13 feet, or your paver did. And I understand there was an original stone lot there for a kitchen business, which was a very unintense use compared to what you're doing as far as the number of vehicles going back there. And then the fence is not there, so for all the time that your business has been open, the neighbors behind you have had to deal with it. So I don't generally get angry, but this one makes me angry. I just feel like you just thumbed your nose to everything the board tried to do to help you.
That was not my intention, I assure you. But I'm not gonna, I completely understand what that looks like and what's going on. I have no problem putting this fence anywhere that doesn't allow, an issue with snow removal and things like that. My thought on the property line was it would be easier if we're putting all these trees up and everything for us to be maintaining around them. If there's an area of 20 or 30 feet between a fence and their property, and all these arborvitaes and trees that we put up, would have seemed like that would be almost, just looking at it, something that they'd be taking care of, or I'd have a landscaper go back there, take care of it. It just, the proposition of the fence and the property line was there, I thought, to help with the neighbors. Should have talked to them over the last month, busy month, but I understand right on the property line, there are some trees. I struggled to see exactly where the property line was too, but too much in front of that, we run into a hill, some dead trees that actually will need to be taken down before they fall on something as well. I have no problem moving the fence a little bit. I don't, in no way is my intention to upset the neighbors. Truly, it's not. I'm not trying, did not mean to come here, ask for approvals, and then have it seem like that. I talked to Josh, you know, a couple weeks ago, or I'm sorry, you know, almost a month ago now, to discuss a lot of these things, and
No, I, obviously, I'm not on the planning board. Will the planning board have you planting more trees?
yeah, much more trees. It's all on this plan. Arborvitae's, apples and pear trees on the.
Is that completed?
That is not because we want to know where the fence is going. This is the last part of the project, is putting up the screening and putting up the fence.
I saw the folks that live behind you sent some photographs at night. We have floodlights at the peak of the building, at the top of the building, through the trees, lighting up their backyard. Unacceptable.
Okay.
I mean, I don't, Don, you were involved in that.
I think Corinne was very polite.
I'm talking about the
I think Corinne was very polite. My filter's down, I'm pissed. I want the site built the way it was initially planned and approved by this board before I would consider anything as far as any new approvals. That's my position.
We could formally deny, or you're not going to get a vote from this board. You have to take your commercial against residential property. You have to take that relationship very seriously. Right down the road from you, another developer developed where the McDonald's is. They built a berm like 30 feet tall and planted trees all over it so that people wouldn't have to see the commercial property. All we ask you to do is adhere to a setback and put the fence back so far. That's pretty minimal. So, you know, I don't know if we make a motion to deny the variance or just, I mean, no motion at all is a denial, but what do you think?
Well, and I understand that perhaps there's a turning radius issue, and we have limited the parking. I think at the request of the planning board, we had requested that the parking be behind the building instead of in front of the building. Frankly, given that that's a commercial stretch of Ridge Road, that there's cars parked up and down and all the way anyway, if I would be more prone to be agreeable to parking on the side and the front of the building so that you can use the back for your turning radius, but the edge of the pavement and the fence are where they are supposed to be. I understand some trucks don't turn as well as others, but you know, there's plenty of space on this parcel where you can put the other vehicles. I don't think that the space between the building and the parking lot would limit your traffic to behind it.
Are you suggesting like eliminating the parking spots along back?
If that gives you enough turning radius, or I can't imagine you're gonna have a big dump truck from AP or whoever there
Yeah.
every day.
Not.
Maybe plan accordingly. Put a couple of cones there. Okay, don't park here today because I got a big truck coming in.
I think it's this board's,
It's doable.
yeah, it could be worked and not have any negative impact on the residential neighborhood behind it.
So if the situation is that it's out of compliance, it seems to me, Josh, we have if there's a denial, you gotta wait 12 months.
Yes.
So maybe what should be extended here is withdraw the application, remediate and mitigate the problem so it's consistent with what was originally requested. And then if there's variance or there's modifications that have to come subsequent to getting in compliance, you won't be prejudiced by tonight's application, and then you can come before the board with clean hands, so to speak, and start the process over again.
I appreciate that.
No promises,
I understand.
but it gives you an opportunity to come back under.
I certainly didn't want to come down here. I didn't not expect, but didn't. I was hoping that, you know, that this wasn't how I was looked at. I've been trying very hard. It's my first endeavor, anything like this, so I apologize to everyone and the board members. If it's denied in 12 months, it's gonna cause a big situation. I would love to talk with both Gary and the Moonies and come up with a better situation if this is. My questions for the board would be, it seems like their concerns were more about the fence and screening. I completely understand your guys' need for, upholding a border between commercial residential. Is it worth me discussing any kind of slightly larger parking lot where I think if we were to go to the original approved variances, it's going to cause us some turning issues. I completely understand where you guys are coming from. I don't want to deny any of it. I'm just curious, is if we did work with the neighbors and the engineers, is there anything between the 36.5 that we're asking for tonight and the 49 that was approved on, last year, that would be potentially acceptable even? Or am I just ditching the entire idea of asking for more parking and I guess just dealing with it?
I guess,
Well, let me say this first of all. So, the board shouldn't really be giving out advisory opinions.
Of course.
Anything that we do, should the board choose to engage that, is really gratuitous, and understanding that the board is not going to be bound going forward by any opinions that might run
Sure.
tonight. Is that agreeable with you?
Yes, I completely understand.
we are inclined to stick with the original variances as they were. Right now, that's runs with the property. Hopefully you can make your plan work within those variances. Go back to the drawing board.
Okay.
The other thing that disappoints me is your business has been open for almost a year, and you haven't done the plantings that the planning board told you to do, and that's affecting the neighbors, because the lights come into their yard. I mean, literally, the floodlights are shining right at their house. So that should all be done as quickly as possible.
I have every intent on doing that. I need to know where exactly the fence will be placed so that I can know where those plantings go. And I'm not making any other excuses about that. I apologize for that not happening immediately. Per plan, it seemed like the order of events that needed to happen was put the building up, figure out the parking lot, pave that, and then put the fence and the screening up. In that order, we started this project over the winter, so it was, I'm not sure if it's impossible. It was definitely impossible to pave until about.
So if I'm hearing John correctly, you correct me if I'm wrong, any changes you make have to be a formal application to this board.
Okay.
And we discuss it, we ask for public comment, and we move on it. We don't give advice. Correct?
I understand.
Yeah, you're not relying on anything that is a change that just occurred.
And I completely understand. I'm sorry for asking for advice when it comes to that. Again, I'm still new to this. This entire last year and a half has been a little overwhelming at times. And I apologize if any of that's been looked at, as being looked at as me doing whatever I wanted is in no ways of what I want. I'm trying to do the best for everything, including my business and the neighbors and everything. And we'll go back to the drawing board and we'll figure out what's going to be the best solution for that. But I'm hearing everything you guys are saying loud and clear.
So, I'm sorry, you're Mr. Smith?
Mr. Smith, yeah.
Okay, are you withdrawing your application at this time?
I am, yes.
We have to make a motion?
No.
Not really.
No.
All right, we're all set for tonight.